There are a lot of Indigenous children that are forced into the foster care system, and they end up having absolutely no link to their heritage. It's basically like having your culture ripped from you. Well, I had a very interrupted upbringing, but I think that's because of 500 years of genocide and the trauma that I carry in my DNA. I have a lot of identity issues because I don't know who my father is. On my mom's side, her mother is white Caucasian and her father's Native American. I identify as Choctaw and white. My mom struggled with a drug and alcohol addiction. She would go on these binges, and sometimes she would disappear for days or weeks at a time. I would be not picked up from school, and I would often find my way home by myself. I had open heart surgery at 5 years old, and I remember when I was recovering, being by myself alone, screaming when I woke up, realizing no one was there. I was placed into the foster care system at the age of 8, and I lived with my aunt and uncle. I have one brother, and he's 2 years younger than me. I was put in the system, but my brother was not, because he knew who his biological father was. I didn't know who my father is. My brother's father, he hired a lawyer, and my aunt and uncle no longer had custody of me. I was placed with my brother's father. There was no intervention with caseworkers. My aunt and my uncle were essentially my escape. I was living in Chicago, Illinois, with my brother's father. He was a former Chicago police officer, and he also sold drugs. I saw a lot of drug activity and people cooking crack in the stovetop. He was extremely abusive and often would pick my mom up from rehab and then purchase alcohol. He was the one that fed her addiction. When I was 12 years old, my mother, she overdosed. She was considered brain dead and kept on life support for 5 years. After my brother's father was arrested, I was raised by my cousins. My aunt did also have an issue with prescription medication and alcoholism. So later, that's why I was placed with her daughter, who's my cousin. My cousins were Sufis, which is a mystical branch of Islam. So I was exposed to those things, but my brother was not. My brother lived with my grandparents in West Virginia. I didn't want to be separated, but I didn't realize at the time it was permanent. I've had about 30 caseworkers. No one ever asks your opinion or cares what you think. I didn't really understand those decisions as a kid, but as an adult, like, I kind of wish I had my brother. I went to Catholic school. It was really diverse. A lot of people from different religions went there, and I feel like it had an influence on essentially why later I became Muslim. Just like being involved in like a lot of school activities based around social justice with my religion teacher. And he's like this white Irish Catholic, like old man. He's pretty awesome. I feel like there's a direct connection between the indigenous people of like the Americas and with the injustice that Palestinians experience. Being that I am Native, it's not a stereotype that we deal with issues of alcoholism. I felt like being Muslim would essentially be the right path for me because of the restrictions on alcohol and drugs, as well as I felt the need for like spirituality and structure because I've never had control of anything in my life. I no longer have a relationship with my brother. I think it's very interesting because my brother and I look exactly alike in terms of our features, but we're absolutely nothing alike in terms of lifestyle or personality. He actually recently had a baby and named his son Remington after a gun. He joined the military and he served 2 tours in Afghanistan. I just wish that my brother didn't hate me for my religion. I love him and I wish that we had a different relationship. I chose the lifestyle of becoming a Muslim because of the things that we both went through. As a young child, I didn't have any mentorship roles. Now I have mentors.
That was fun. I got a song on the album that me and I checked it. Not the train of thought, the revolution for a minute. I feel like
such as Khalid M, who's a Libyan hip-hop artist. I was able to create that community through my activism, music, and the arts. It's important because it gives a voice to the voiceless. It felt like a direct connection between those people and myself being voiceless. I feel like I became like obsessed with like childhood because I wasn't able to have a childhood myself. I'm a child care provider and I want to pursue early childhood education, and I also want to work with artists at the same exact time. Actually, sometimes I do that on the phone, like texting while pushing the swing at the playground. I decided to share my story because I wanted to have a sense of empowerment and turn something that was really negative into a positive. If I had one last thing to say to my mom, I would tell her that I wish she would choose life, and I hope that she would love my brother and I.